Matt Walsh and Nick Carter are partners at Castle Island Ventures. All views expressed by them or the guests on this podcast are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Castle Island Ventures. Guests and hosts may maintain positions in the assets discussed in this podcast. You should not treat any opinion expressed by anyone on this podcast as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their personal opinion. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Brought down by bad mortgage investments, Lehman, which has 25,000 employees, will be liquidated.
The federal government loans American International Group, AIG, $85 billion.
This is a different kind of market, and the Fed is asleep.
The federal government is stepping in to stabilize Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two mortgage giants that have been threatened by the housing crisis.
The Bank of England has pumped £75 billion more into Britain's ailing economy with a new round of quantitative easing.
You print a couple $1 trillion, and all of a sudden, people start to worry. So out of this worry, we have something called the Bitcoin.
Welcome to On the Brink. I'm Matt Walsh.
And I'm Nick Carter.
And the coins are getting crushed this week. I think it's because of your quantum tweet.
I saw that was trending on Twitter, which is never good. I think Quantum FUD is part of it, actually. Yeah, I do think Quantum FUD is part of it.
Yeah, did Ray Dalio come out and say something about quantum today? Was that him?
Yeah, on CNBC.
Okay.
Yeah, but like, where is he? Is he on Twitter? Like, how is he finding out about this?
I think he probably reads Scott Aaronson's blog. Did you
think Ray Dalio reads Shtetl optimized? Is that Shtetl? I don't know how to say it.
I think a lot of people are reading that this week.
Yeah, a lot of people are, born again Scott Aaronson fans. I actually read his book.
I bought his book this week.
He's having a
good book sale week.
It's kind of a very contrived title, Quantum Computing Since Democritus. He doesn't talk about the ancient Greeks at all. Just going to spoil that for you.
Okay.
In fact, there's a lot of very heavy-duty math throughout the whole book.
All right, it might not be my favorite book, but I figured, people are talking about quantum on a 3 to 7 year time horizon, so it's time to start paying attention.
So, yeah, what did he say? First of all, he said that he changed his mind on quantum, right?
Yeah, and then he clarified it today, right? Didn't he have a second blog post that said, I didn't mean to scare you?
Yeah, what did he say exactly? Let me find it. Okay, he says, in his original post, he says, and for those of you who don't know, Scott Aaronson is like the academic / educator around quantum computing, has made fundamental innovations in the field, teaches a class on it. He's a very, very well-known computer scientist guy. And he's also known as a skeptic or a realist around quantum computing. He's never sold out because obviously the field has a lot of these exaggerated claims. So he says, I now think it's a live possibility that we'll have a fault-tolerant quantum computer running Shor's algorithm before the next U.S. presidential election. And then Vitalik repeated this on stage at DevCon.
Within a couple of hours, yeah. So Vitalik must read that blog post pretty regularly, I'd say.
Then there was a big brouhaha, and a lot of people started panicking about quantum. And then he wrote a follow-up post saying, Quantum investment bros, have you no shame? I guess that's us. And so he's clarifying that he doesn't support the valuations of the quantum shitters, basically.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word.
All these things that are zero revenue, just trading through the moon on the public markets.
Yeah, Rigetti is up by a factor of 20 in the last year, and that's even after selling off. Huge.
Crazy.
So but he does say at the end of that post, if you think Bitcoin, SSL, and all the protocols based on Shor breakable cryptography are almost certainly safe for the next 5 years, then I submit that your confidence is unwarranted. So he actually does double down that Bitcoin is not 100% safe for sure.
Well, I think it's time to start having these upgrade conversations across every development community. It's going to take a long time. If you just how long do you think it would take for Bitcoin to actually update, and then most people that own Bitcoin to move their coins into quantum secure address schemes?
Yeah, I mean, it's like an unimaginably large task. It's not only the biggest infrastructural change to Bitcoin that would have ever been done. We're talking about ripping out the core signature algorithm here and the way that private keys are even devised, public keys from private keys. I mean, it's such a huge infrastructure build, it's almost not the same thing. after. And on top of that, you have to give people years to migrate their coins.
Yeah,
Years.
I mean, the backlog, it's a queuing problem, right? There's only so many transactions per second that can actually happen on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah, and some people are in prison or in comas or
Right.
something, and they don't have access to their coins. So how long do we give people to move their coins over? We don't have that long, it seems, until Q Day is upon us.
What do you think the politics behind this upgrade would be? Do you think that there will be, hey, let's lower the block size while we're at it, and it'll get muddied with other debates that are happening in the community?
I think we're going to have to raise the block size significantly, actually, because as far as I can tell, based on my survey of the post-quantum algorithms, they're all much bigger than elliptic ECDSA, which is like 200 bytes. Some of these quantum algorithms are like 10 kilobytes.
Yeah.
So you actually need more block space to accommodate the same number of signatures.
I guess the small blockers would like that, though.
But they're just going to have to deal with it because it's existential. Like, forget any other Bitcoin politics issue. This is the only thing that matters from now on.
Yeah.
And like, people are going to accuse us of fudding or like, talking our own book or whatever. I don't consider it fudding because it is such an existential problem potentially. So even if it's only a 10% chance, I think we should still care about it a lot. Because if it happens unexpectedly, the damage is astronomical.
I'd say the biggest risk is doing nothing. Over what time horizon, who knows? The second biggest risk is that you do upgrade and just classic brute force or some other way to just break a normal signature scheme happens on this quantum resistant algorithm, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because in cryptography, you actually want to go with the tried and true.
Right.
You don't want to go with the new and untested. And it has been the case that people have devised post-quantum algorithms that were themselves breakable classically.
Right.
So what you really don't want to do is rush everyone onto some new scheme that turns out you can just break with an ordinary computer.
So let's start
That's
testing
the
those
worst case.
post-quantum schemes ASAP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And there are some. There's one called MLDSA, which NIST has proposed, I think. So NIST is on it.
Yeah, NIST seems to be on it. Seems like a lot of the Europeans are on it too. These Oxford people are really sharp.
Yeah, there's something weird about quantum, which is Europe is the nexus. It's like the first time Europe's been on top of anything in years.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder why that is. It's just, just so happens that Oxford is a training ground for all these people.
Europeans, good at quantum.
Good at quantum. Not so good at, crypto market structure regulation, but that's all right. Not everyone can be.
Yeah, they're nowhere on stablecoins. So,
all right, let's hop into some deals of the week. Very big one to start here. Kraken, big crypto exchange. They raised $800 million from Citadel, Jane Street, DRW, Tribe Capital, and a number of others. Pre-IPO round there, $20 billion.
huge round. Next up, we have Obex, a stablecoin incubator. They raised $37 million from Framework, Layer 0, and Sky.
Then we put this one in here. It's not really a crypto deal, but Doppel, which is a digital identity protection platform, they raised $70 million from Bessemer, A16Z, and South Park Commons. This is one of those companies that identifies people that are being impersonated on Twitter. And
quite
also
useful,
Telegram.
actually, I will say. OXBO is a privacy-focused DEX. They raised $3.5 million from Starbloom, Coinbase Ventures, Boost VC, and others.
Then it's D-Block, which is a French crypto exchange. They raised $35 million from Speed Invest, Commerce Ventures, and Latitude.
And lastly, we have Self Protocol, an identity verification protocol. They raised $9 million from Greenfield, Spearhead VC, and Verta Ventures.
All right, where do you want to start this week?
So we've covered quantum. We're concerned about quantum. It's just going to be an issue, and I think we should tackle it now. That's not the only thing that's causing the coins to sell off.
Yeah, I think generally just the whole market, even in equities, has been risk off this week. I also wonder how much of an overhang the 1010 flash crash and kind of Binance-related issues are having on this market.
I think that could definitely be it, and I think the probability of rate cuts dropped as well, which probably didn't help. But yeah, I think we have unhealed wounds from the flash crash.
It's just, yeah. It's not possible to vaporize that much money and not have some carcasses that just float ashore. And we haven't really seen anything yet.
Yeah, not one firm. No one will ever admit it, though, unless they have to.
Well, it's interesting. You think about where the leverage is in the system. In the last cycle, we kind of knew all the lenders. And unfortunately, we didn't know who they were all lending to. But in this cycle, I think the exchanges are interesting to take a look at. The exchanges that have been offering credit to some of their bigger customers. And you wonder, I mean, you never really know unless the company was public how much credit they're extending.
Yeah, I was going to say the leverage was coming from the DATs, but it's not really leverage per se, but it's like a form of leverage.
There's some leverage at the DATs, right? Some of them have taken out margin type loans off of their Bitcoin holdings.
It's leverage in the sense that a large amount of supply was taken off the market, and that was baked into people's expectations. And now the supply is being spit back out onto the market unceremoniously. So this week, FG Nexus, I didn't even heard of this one. Do you know about this DAT?
No, I've never heard of that.
I didn't know it, but they sold 10,900 ETH for share buybacks. So they had 50,000 ETH. They sold a fifth.
That's a death spiral situation.
Yeah, because once the DAT starts selling the ETH to buy back the shares, why would you ever buy the DAT again?
Yeah,
after that,
I don't think you would.
So they're all announcing buybacks. Strategy has not.
No,
they're holding the line.
Well, he's got the voting control, right? So he's probably less exposed to activists than some of these DATs.
But I guess the question is, so like the marginal DAT holder, let's say you're holding Strategy and it's trading the exact same MNAV to some other fungible Bitcoin DAT. The other DAT says we will sell coins to do share buybacks. Strategy has, I guess, said they won't. Wouldn't you then reallocate to the DAT that's willing to do the buyback?
Yeah, maybe.
On the margin?
Maybe on the margin you would. But I don't know. He does have a huge head start at MicroStrategy in the sense that he's been able to tap the convert market. He's got all these preferred. So his infrastructure is objectively a lot better to be able to issue assets that enable him to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, he might structurally just be the most advantaged and able to weather this storm.
I also have a hard time thinking about all these people that are talking about the M&A with the DATs. I get it, and you will have consolidation. But these markets move really quickly. And so, you're going to announce a deal. Presumably, you're going to be at a premium buying a DAT out that's trading at a discount. You would buy it at some sort of a premium. Market's going to move pretty quickly to close that premium. The merger arb there is pretty fascinating when you think about it. I think it's going to be a lot more complicated than people think to effectuate an M&A deal.
Okay, so speaking of arbitrage, I want to ask you something. I think that the DATs are pulling down the price of spot because the DATs are trading at a discount to spot, and you have people doing these convergence trades.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Where you short spot and long DAT. A, is that happening? And B, is there an actual mechanism whereby they would converge, though?
I don't think necessarily there's a mechanism that they would converge because there's so many factors going on at the DATs, but I would actually think the futures contracts would be more liquid than spot and probably easier to get in and out of. So I wonder if it's, either long or short the DATs and then vice versa on the futures contracts.
The only way this resolves is if the DATs sell enough coins that they become less important in the market and the NAVs go back or close to 1. I don't see any other way.
I think just have a lot of spot inflows could kind of solve this, right? Just the market picks up and rates get cut and market goes risk on. I think a lot of these DATs would pop back up.
Yeah, but in a sideways market or low interest market, the DATs I think weigh on crypto for a long time, maybe a year, maybe more.
It's a big overhang. It's not hopefully as bad as the overhang from like GBTC style, the leverage blow up, and then the GBTC overhang was a pretty big one.
Yeah, so the credit crunch of 22, that took 18 months to fix.
Yeah.
When you say? The DATs aren't as bad.
Not as
They're
bad.
not as bad.
All right, let's talk about what happened with the OCC this week. Not a lot of coverage, but I thought this was a big deal. So the OCC put out interpretive guidance. They confirmed that it's permissible for a U.S. bank to hold crypto assets on their balance sheet for the purpose of paying gas fees. This is actually important because it wasn't clear to many of these banks that they could do this. So it became clear that you could actually hold Bitcoin on your balance sheet, mostly as a function of Staff Accounting Bulletin 122, which rolled back SAB 121. But then holding proprietary coins on your own remained kind of unclear if you could do that. And you obviously need to hold your own Bitcoin or ETH to pay network fees when you're just moving the customer asset. So this was a very in the weeds type of a problem, but it was one that a lot of the banks were experiencing. So the OCC coming out and saying this is okay, I think actually brings a few banks on the margin into this industry.
I was very surprised that this needed an explicit letter, but I guess you better safe than sorry as bank.
Oh, I mean, if you're a bank, I mean, you operate due to the benevolence of the U.S. government, right? You don't want to do anything to mess that up. And if you want it very crystal clear, okay, I am allowed to hold this Bitcoin on the bank balance sheet. You could take a capital charge against it, obviously, but you just can't move the asset without it. So there were some banks that, we had been talking to that had some pretty interesting end arounds to try to do this, almost like sponsored gas fee type of things that were off balance sheet to try to figure it out. But this is just a cleaner way to run a custody operation.
There's some other pieces of news out of Washington this week. The Senate Banking Chair, Tim Scott, said he's pushing for a vote on market structure by the end of the year.
Yeah, this is encouraging, huh? And so we still don't know what's going to be in market structure. We still don't know about the DeFi provision, but the fact that this is still being pushed is a very good sign.
Elsewhere, Senate Ag has voted along party lines to move forward the CFTC nomination of Michael Selig.
I didn't get a chance to watch the hearing, did you?
No, but we generally like him, I think is the word, right?
Yeah, I think he'd be a good pick for the digital asset industry. And I'd imagine that this will be able to move along party lines to get the full confirmation, hopefully.
And Warren Davidson has introduced a bill called Bitcoin for America that allows taxes to be paid in BTC to go into the strategic Bitcoin reserve. We'll see how far that gets.
This is actually how I thought that digital asset treasury companies would evolve. I remember having this conversation back in like 2016 with someone very explicitly around would a public company ever hold Bitcoin? And at the time, I didn't think that a public company would come out and just start buying, which I guess I was wrong. MicroStrategy did that a few years later. But I said, wouldn't it be crazy to me that you see more of these like overstock style companies where they just accept Bitcoin in order to purchase goods, and they just like keep a little bit of it. And it sounds like that's what's being proposed here for the U.S. government. I don't know if this could pass, though.
My black swan prediction for the next decade here is that the U.S. government gets Satoshi's coins with Quantum.
I think there's a reason why we don't know the total amount of Bitcoin that the U.S. government has, where they haven't actually fulfilled this was promised, wasn't it? A full audit of how much Bitcoin the U.S. government has.
They haven't given us the audit.
No, I think because the number is huge. I think the number is way bigger.
Oh, you think it's bigger?
I think it's way bigger.
Because Bitcoin was invented in Fort Meade, Maryland at the NSA headquarters.
Well, yeah, so they have the Satoshi coins, obviously, and that's probably only obvious to you and I. But I think they also have just a lot of confiscated Bitcoin. You saw the story a couple of weeks ago where the Chinese government accused the U.S. government of taking $13 billion worth of Bitcoin illegally from some Chinese person that was running some scam.
Wasn't that the UK government?
No, this was separate, is my understanding.
This was a different one.
Yeah, different seizure. So the UK government also has a lot of Bitcoin.
More than one.
But the allegation is basically that the U.S. government, this was years ago, like during the early part of the Biden administration, seized a bunch of Bitcoin tied to some Chinese-related scam.
So here's why I think it's going to happen. And I have more on this in my forthcoming blog post. If we get Quantum, it's going to be a very short amount of time until China catches up.
Yeah.
If you had to guess, I'm going to test your knowledge of history. How long did we have the nuclear bomb for before the Soviets got it?
It was probably under 3 years, right?
It was 4 years,
Yeah.
almost exactly. Great guess. So a lot of the secrets got leaked and then they just did it so quick. And I think it's going to be the same with any, major technological inflection. Like, it's not that hard to build it once you know how to do it. So I think if we develop quantum, we have like 2 years. So what do you do in that time? Because China's going to get it. Maybe North Korea is going to get it. They'll steal the coins.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
They're not going to have any qualms. China might do it just to mess with us. North Korea will do it because that's their whole line of work. That's how they make money. So we have to preemptively steal the coins. Not we. The U.S. government has to preemptively steal the coins.
I don't think that's crazy to think. And I wouldn't be surprised if you actually see some public-private partnership to get the coins and mobilize them, and to have the U.S. government oversee the key management of the confiscated coins.
Not that I trust the U.S. government, but I trust them more than North Korea or China.
Of course.
This is actually the best case. We requisition or eminent domain. What's it called? Civil asset forfeiture?
Yeah.
We civilly asset forfeit Satoshi, forfeits the coins, U.S. government. Maybe they go into the reserve. Maybe they say if Satoshi pops his head up again, he can get the coins back.
Yeah, if he can come and prove it.
But I think before the next decade is out, so between now and 2035, we're going to have to actually confront this problem.
We're just going to have so many forks, aren't we? This is going to be back to the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, all of these various forks that happened. You're going to have a lot of new coins get created around this time.
It's frightening. It feels like the most existential thing that we've ever been confronted with.
It's the last boss to beat on the FUD dice, probably.
Yeah, and it was on the FUD dice.
It was on the FUD dice.
So those who say we only just started caring about quantum is on the FUD dice in 2018.
I'd say it's a pretty good FUD, but at least there's a game plan for it. I'm not sure what the game plan is for the stability of the network post block reward.
Well, we can obviously solve two birds with one stone should we choose to.
Just recycle the coins.
Recycle the coins.
Oh man, I don't know about that.
That fixes both.
Just permanent inflation with Satoshi's coins. The Bitcoin maxis will love that.
Use the coins as an endowment to fund mining for 30 years.
I guess you haven't created more coins in that situation, so you still have 21 billion.
Yeah, there's no inflation.
Yeah,
there's no inflation. It's perfect. Elegant.
So this gets me to the other thing I was talking about yesterday with someone, which is we talked about Sarah Fryer's comments, I think, last week, the CFO of OpenAI, when she said something about a government bailout. Do you think that the government would actually bail out the AI industry if we have a .com era crash?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the reason we have bailouts is because ordinary people's savings are in the banking system. And the political cost of that is too great. Do they care if 10,000 Silicon Valley elites lose money? No.
So you don't buy this national security argument that if OpenAI or some of these big companies gets totally over their skis and goes bankrupt, that it's going to become a national security issue? We're going to have China surpassing us on the AI front?
No, because even if OpenAI collapses tomorrow, there's so many other good companies that can develop strong Western aligned AI, Anthropic, Google, and XAI. I mean, it's basically there's 4 companies that can do it. So no one company that does it matters. I don't know if Sam really meant that though. When he asked for a bailout, I don't know if that was the intent.
I don't know if he really asked for it, but it is interesting that this is getting to the scale where this will make the .com blow up look like a small thing if we keep on ripping here and something happens.
Yeah, I mean, the economy is totally dependent on AI infrastructure.
Yeah, it's just fully intertwined here into the NASDAQ.
But I mean, if you think about it, wasn't it always just, didn't it have to be this way? Like, does it actually surprise you that we're just going to convert the Earth into one giant data center? I'm not surprised by that. That feels like, well, of course, like intelligence is the highest value added commodity we can produce. So of course we're going to try and max out and make as much as we can.
Yeah, I think that's right. All right, we are doom and gloom today, man. I don't know what's going on.
So elsewhere in news, there was a leak this week. Coinbase is apparently planning to launch their own prediction market powered by Kalshi.
That's interesting. So Coinbase is X profile says December 17th right now. Do you think that is the announcement coming on December 17th?
That would suggest that it could be.
I guess Coinbase would be well positioned to be the front end for prediction market services. That does make sense to me.
For sure. But they could have built it on their own.
Oh.
If they wanted.
Sometimes they could also buy something, but probably not Kalshi at this valuation.
Remember their debacle? Remember when they tried to build an NFT marketplace?
Oh, yeah.
And they paid, I forgot his name, the former Google guy.
Yeah.
They paid him over $100 million in stock.
I mean, that was
that.
You remember that, what was it? OpenSea raised at like a $13 billion valuation that year. That was a real fever dream.
It was a heady time. That's just one of the greatest all-time like job situations. It's the guy that went to Coinbase to build NFTs, walked away with 9 figures in
Coinbase
cash.
In cash.
Sold. Yeah.
Did they still have that platform? Does that still exist?
I don't think so. I don't think it got built.
I went into an old NFT wallet that I have, and a bunch of them are gone. Turns out these things are not like permanent.
Yeah, I did notice that some of my NFTs, the images.
Yeah, they're just gone.
The image is gone.
That's
not the point.
I thought they were one of ones, and maybe they were, but someone deleted them.
It was meant to be permanent. And so what? These were just being stored in an AWS bucket?
Probably.
And that was it?
Weren't these meant to be stored on like Filecoin or Arweave or something like this?
Yeah, man. NFTs. Do you think they will ever come back? Will NFTs ever come back?
I'm sure they'll come back. I just don't have the appetite to engage on it. I don't know. Maybe they would come back, but maybe not. I always was intrigued by using this to represent, music files or rare IP or something. I think there were use cases that made a ton of sense for NFTs, but they also collapsed right around the time of FTX. And so post FTX, all of the real businesses that were built in that category, they just evaporated because all the customers were like, we're not doing crypto stuff post FTX.
Yeah, I was really excited about generative music NFTs, actually. I thought it was really interesting and unique that an artist could create a song and then 5,000 variations on that song, and then you could uniquely own one of those.
That was cool.
I thought that was very, very cool.
Or one of one songs, like the Wu-Tang Clan thing could have been an NFT.
Or that. Maybe it'll happen. I mean, I still see people wearing Bored Ape streetwear. Like the Bored Ape people are actually still bought in.
Oh yeah, that's a religion. Yeah,
like mutinate, like they still believe in it. They go to the meetups and things, and they make like merchandise. Like you can buy water, like ape water, ape tequila.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
I mean, Doodles is still a thing, right? A bunch of these things are still around. They still have communities.
Well, I think the Pudgies was kind of maybe the only one that sort of broke containment and became a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, they started being sold at Walmarts.
Yeah, like Pudgy, it actually made it out of the whole thing, but that might be the only one.
CryptoPunks are still around. I guess just way down bad, but
yeah, and they don't have any cultural salience. Like, if you ask your average 7-year-old, they might actually know what a Pudgy is.
Oh, do you think so? I'll have to try that.
Why don't you report back to us next week?
I don't know. I don't know about the NFT market. That was, I think prediction markets obviously weren't really a thing back then. And I think a lot of the energy has been sucked into these more kind of speculative use cases around just betting.
Well, elsewhere in news, this was weird. Did you see this? New Hampshire has launched a Bitcoin-backed municipal bond. What happened there?
Yeah, so how does this work? It looks like it allows private companies to pledge Bitcoin and then take out a cash loan. So is this almost like a wholesale cash market where you can go and as a company, you can just park 10 Bitcoin and get out a cash loan type of thing?
I don't understand it at all. But yeah, it is a $100 million Bitcoin-backed conduit bond letting companies borrow against over-collateralized Bitcoin held by a private custodian.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, well, when you think about it, you could make a lot of money lending cash into some of these businesses that just give you a loan against your Bitcoin collateral. There aren't that many of them. I'm surprised that it's not more popular. And it looks like this is just the government being the wholesale dollar market. Which I guess is kind of as long as you can liquidate the Bitcoin, you feel good about the operational side of it, you shouldn't really have losses in a bond like that, right?
Presumably not. That one caught me totally by surprise. I didn't know New Hampshire was so adamant about this. The Granite State is their nickname, apparently.
Oh, yeah. New Hampshire's been way ahead of crypto stuff. All those live free or die people, that's where Bruce Fenton's from.
Also in New England news, great transition there, IBIT is Harvard's largest position in its 13F. So not necessarily the largest endowment position, but I guess among its reportable liquid positions.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. Smart guys over there at Harvard, so not too shocking, but the fact that it's the largest position, they had to know that would get picked up. I guess they don't care.
Yeah, there have been some reports of really major institutional holders of Bitcoin lately.
Sovereigns.
Yeah, sovereigns. I hope the quantum thing doesn't freak people out too much.
I think people are getting freaked out. I mean, you're trending on Twitter right now on quantum.
That's never good.
No.
It's never for something good.
No, it's like, hey, Nick Carter.
It's always because I said something
worry about quantum.
Terrible. Yeah.
To be clear, we're going to be fine with the quantum thing. We just got to start getting on it is the point.
And I think the fact that we're talking about it now makes our odds much better. So I view this as a necessary pain. To the extent people are concerned about it, we're pulling forward some of the concern and the fear into the present day so we can fix it now and be safe later.
And I guess we know the playbook to some degree, right? It's just a matter of picking the post-quantum scheme that we're going to use, which if you had to guess, which algorithm would we map it over to?
Project 11 has a candidate one.
Do they?
The MLDSA variant. I don't know enough about this stuff. I'm not a mathematician. The thing I do worry about is the Satoshi coins, but as we said, we think the U.S. government's just going to requisition them.
Well, so that's just more of a community thing, right? How does the community react if the U.S. government gets those coins versus a private U.S. company getting those coins, which I would argue would be theft, right?
Well, worst case would be some hostile entity just steals them abruptly.
Yeah, then you just have a fork, right? And it's a complete gong show.
But that's just a disaster.
Yeah, then you just have spot markets wick down tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, no fork, major fork would be good for Bitcoin, especially if it's unresolved. That would be the worst, maybe the worst case.
Well, I think it would be resolved, right? If North Korea, but I don't think they're going to be out in the lead on quantum. But if they get the coins, we'll just fork. And
no, I mean, Bitcoin culture is to not do that, though. Remember how much we complain about Ethereum and the DAO?
Yeah, Bitcoin culture is also for the number to go up, though. I don't know. This would be a massive percentage of the overall supply. I would think that you'd have a fork.
But I don't think Bitcoiners would sign on to that. Confiscating coins to the protocol level. See, now we're forking right here.
I think it's...
You can't even get the two of us to agree.
I think it's pretty different when you have a hostile dictatorship taking 1 million Bitcoins. I think there's a fork there.
I wouldn't vote for that.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding?
What we do need is a prediction market around this stuff. We could have some more prediction markets.
It's going to be great Castle Island fodder for the next 3 to 10 years here.
Yeah, just when the industry was like getting kind of a little boring, maybe, we've just been totally revitalized.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that or we start talking again about Gary Gensler's executive assistant there, whatever her name is, that's making all the wave on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much we can say about stablecoins. You know, they're great.
Yeah, I guess stablecoins continue to go up and to the right, which is kind of like a weird
You
thing.
can't log on every week and say that. That would get boring.
I was on a train ride with a guy this week coming back from New York, and we were chatting, and I had my one of my vests on that sort of portended that I was in crypto, and he's like, "You must be having a bad week." And I was kind of like, "Nah."
He said that to you on the train?
Yeah. I was
That's
like,
rude.
No, I'm having a really good week, actually.
That is honestly so rude to say to someone.
He didn't say it in a mean way. It's just like, "Oh, I own some Bitcoins getting smoked." I'm like, "Yeah,
It's not your fault."
No, it's like doesn't really impact my week.
So actually on the topic of stablecoins, I did want to talk about this Atlantic article by a certain David Frum. David Frum. Neocon.
Oh, yeah.
Why is he writing about stablecoins? What does he know about stablecoins? Not very much is the answer. Not very much is the answer. Did you read this article?
I did not read it. What's it say?
Well, he's just hating on stablecoins. He thinks they should be FDIC insured. He thinks they're only used by criminals. They're not used for anything real. Also, this guy's not like a finance writer. So
How would
I
they
can't
be
believe they-
FDIC insured? The FDIC insurance limit's $250,000.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's really aware of the structure of that or why it exists and the difference between how a bank works and how a stablecoin works. He also said stablecoins can be bailed out when they collapse, which he doesn't really. He just like kind of like states these things, but he doesn't really explain the dynamics of his predictions. He compares them to mutual funds that broke the buck, which is like a somewhat reasonable comparison, but the ones that broke the buck weren't just filled with short-dated treasuries.
No, those were commercial paper money market funds,
Yeah.
not government money market funds.
So I like to think there's a difference between layman commercial paper and short-dated treasuries.
Yes, I would.
Bit of a difference there. So he thinks stablecoins are screwed because of that. And the weirdest thing he said, I think this was the single weirdest claim, was he thinks that stablecoin issuers have duration risk.
They have duration risk.
Duration risk with the 90-day treasuries. So he thinks if interest rates rise, the face value of those treasuries falls, thus causing a run on the bank and the stablecoin issuers to be insolvent.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, theoretically, if everyone raced for the exits into fiat, you'd have some issues, but I don't know why that doesn't happen in government money market funds. So why would that happen here?
It literally never has. Because he says, oh yeah, in 22, 23, there was a rate hike cycle. And so like, first of all, the magnitude of the face value sell off in bonds, government bonds short dated, is enormously small because there's so little duration. It's 3 months. Second of all, you can just hold the bond to maturity.
Right.
And you get the nominal value out of it.
Yeah, it seems to be confusing like an SVB style situation with something that's
exactly
very unlike
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that claim in particular I thought was very egregious, and I wanted to call that out.
So you're going to be writing a rebuttal blog here? Is that where we're going with this?
I know, people want me to. I can't tackle all of these. There's too many.
Yeah, you're just on the wall defending so many things. But I don't think a lot of people go to what did you say? It was The Atlantic?
The Atlantic.
I don't think a lot of people read The Atlantic for their crypto news.
Yeah, political commentator writing about stablecoins, The Atlantic. Why?
All right, David Frum. Not the best. Not the best take. How we looking on the weekend for the Washington football team?
Well, we lost to the Miami Dolphins last week.
That's tough.
And that was in Spain. I actually know people that went to watch the Commanders play in Spain and lose to the Miami Dolphins.
That's tough.
I mean, and we had a chance to win the game with like a 50-yard field goal. As time expired, we missed it.
That's
can you imagine the level of depression? Flying all the way to Madrid to watch the Commanders lose to the Dolphins.
I mean, I guess at least you're on a vacation or something like that. But the year is going very differently for the Patriots. We're having a really good year.
Yeah, very shocking.
Drake May is definitely the future. I wouldn't say shocking. I was expecting this.
So yeah, I think the Commanders will actually lose out. The Dolphins was our best chance to win a game, and that's it.
I don't know. I guess you're all set on quarterback theoretically. So
first overall draft pick. Here we come.
Yeah, tank for whoever. All right, I think that is it for the week. Everybody have a safe and healthy weekend, and we will see you on Monday.